flawless experts who have all the answers. That's not this podcast. Instead, we chat with professionals who love what they do, have wisdom to share, and can laugh at their own mistakes. I'm Mark, and I'm the host of the WorkPlay Solutions podcast. So let's laugh, learn, and discover the joy of work. Boo, boo, boo.
All right, Mark. I'm with Mark Suroviec here today. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good.
That's good, man. I'm excited to record this with hanging out with you in your home. I haven't been here before, but this is an exciting spot. And
so as Jonathan just mentioned, he is the host today. We're going to switch roles. You may remember Jonathan Weaver of GameWeaver Games was on episode 10 and 11 of the WorkPlay Solutions podcast, Transferable Skills. This is a special day. It is WorkPlay's birthday. So we're going to say happy birthday, WorkPlay Solutions. Boo, boo, boo. So on July 9th, 2022, WorkPlay will be 1 year old, and this is our birthday episode. So Jonathan's going to ask me some questions about things that I've learned and tell some stories from my first year in business. So I'm excited about this. I get really anxious being someone else's guest.
Hey, man, we'll keep it nice and easy. I'll only throw really hard questions at you every time.
Okay. Great. Go ahead. It's your show.
Absolutely. Yeah, welcome to my show, and Mark is now the guest. As you know, if you've listened to WorkPlay Solutions, he usually begins with an icebreaker question. I want to know this. If you had a favorite cereal, what are they and why?
Oh, man. I love cereal, like a lot.
Good, me too.
As an adult, I still eat cereal.
Yep, me too.
So if I'm having to drive somewhere early in the morning, my go-to is Frosted Mini Wheats.
Ooh.
Because it fits in a cup, and you can eat it dry while driving.
That's so true. No milk needed.
Yep.
And, so good.
And if I'm just eating at home, I'm not going to lie. As an adult, I still love Lucky Charms.
Dude, I was hoping you would say that. All right, so here's the big question with Lucky Charms. Do you eat all the marshmallows or all the cat food, as I've heard it being called?
I eat it normally, and about a third of the marshmallows are picked out by my daughter, Lucy, when she won't eat anything else.
That's right. She's like, oh, good. Dad has Lucky Charms. So do I.
Yeah, so she will just take them out of your bowl whether you want her to or not. So,
oh, man, that's so real.
One of the joys of parenthood.
That's so right. Also, Lucky Charms is like just, I don't know, there's something clearly magical about it. It is such a good cereal.
Legal disclaimer, WorkPlay Solutions is not sponsored by Lucky Charms or other cereal-related products.
Maybe by leprechauns, though. I'm just kidding. That's right. To answer my own question, I'm glad that you said that you're like, I'm an adult and I love cereal, because I'm an adult and I love cereal. And like you said, actually on the road is similar. I love Frosted Mini Wheats because I put them in baggies for whenever I know I'm going to get up really early and get out the door really fast. I love the cereal question. And there's always like such passion usually if people like cereal.
Yeah.
Oh, I eat this, I guess sometimes if it happens.
Yeah.
It's like I don't eat cereal, or if I eat cereal, I have an opinion.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Love it.
To restate the topic, which is not cereal or nutrition, it is happy birthday WorkPlay. And I am so excited to get to interview you about your first year as a small business. So I'm going to just ask a few questions and you just let us into your world.
Okay.
As you've been hosting this podcast, we haven't heard as much about your world all the time as we've heard about the guests. First up is definitely tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then what did you do and how did you get here to this point of a year into your own business?
Every time somebody asks me that, I'm always tempted to just make up something.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm a paid assassin. Like really? No. I would. If I was, I wouldn't tell you.
Right. That's exactly what I would say if I really was one, because you wouldn't believe it.
I have been working in the training and experiential learning industry for about 20 years. I went to school for psychology and counseling, studied athletic counseling, which is what most people think of as sports psychology. And when I was in that program at Springfield College, I discovered experiential learning. I did my first ropes course and did an internship with this organization that did leadership development and team building, and I loved it. And I've been hooked on that ever since. So I've had my hand in some sort of learning and training and facilitation and program design. I've done that for about 20 years, have worked with about 20,000 people.
Whoa.
And have led over 1,000 different events. So about 100 of those have been me doing training of other staff on just various topics of things in my expertise.
That's a lot of people.
Well, you have to keep a portfolio, and I am meticulous about it. So I've got
long list.
a long list.
I want to see that Excel sheet of people's names or even groups. I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
A few years ago, I converted it from Excel to my favorite app, Airtable. I love learning. I love fun. I love teams and leaders getting what they need. So it's something I'm passionate about. So I am married. My wife is Alice, and she is a chemistry professor and dean at the local university here. Her amazing job allows me to have the freedom to start a business mid-career.
Yeah, right.
During a pandemic. And
What a good time.
yeah, very proud of her. I have 2 wonderful daughters. My 9-year-old is about to turn 10, and her name is Peggy, and she is full of life and excitement. And my 3-year-old, her name is Lucy, and she is a foster child that we adopted actually during the pandemic. And we could do an entire episode on our foster care journey and the adoption story and all of that. That is our family. So now I am the owner and founder of WorkPlay Solutions. For a lot of my career, I worked for an organization called the WinShape Foundation, where I worked with their team and leadership development program. I did a lot of the activity design there, creating a lot of the experiences. I managed their ropes course. I've been a ropes course mercenary at a lot of places.
That's real. That's so real.
It is. Freelance is the official. My friend Dale always gives me flack for calling it a mercenary, but did the mercenary thing, worked with a lot of different programs, have spent time training other folks on the challenge course, and then a number of years ago started expanding my skill set and got into project management and survey and evaluation design. I'm learning that a lot of people have not had straight line careers, and I feel like I'm one of them, and I appreciate that. So
yeah, I mean, back to an episode about transferable skills, I mean, it's just get the skills where you get them and use them where you use them, I love hearing about the background and the fuller story of even your family and why you can do this and how you got to this spot is always really cool. The cool part is you've introed WorkPlay Solutions. So what is WorkPlay Solutions? People who've listened to this podcast, they've heard you talk about WorkPlay Solutions. So what is WorkPlay Solutions and what does it do?
And this is an area where I feel like I haven't done a great job, because I had a friend of mine recently say, I've listened to your podcast and I still don't know what WorkPlay Solutions does. I'm like, oh. And then I went back through my social media feed, and 90% of my posts are about the podcast. So the podcast and the business are different. So the podcast supports the business.
Yeah.
WorkPlay Solutions is a training and consulting company where we create events and resources that help leaders build, train, and manage their teams. We want people to discover the joy of work.
That's so good. Even in that succinct phrase, it's drawing you in if you're involved in teams or work. Like already you're like, well, I kind of want to discover the joy of work. So yeah, like in that sense, like maybe that's the elevator pitch, right? But what is it that you get to do those things?
Solutions that we offer are based on my skill set and experience, fitting those into 4 different buckets. Bucket 1 is what I call unforgettable events. And so these are what you think of as your traditional or untraditional team building events that are done in person. So you want a group of people, whether they're an intact team or not, to do something interesting and memorable and fun. We do that. If you want to learn something great, I can facilitate that as a professional facilitator. If you just want to play and connect and get to know your coworkers or the other people in your organization in a setting that isn't work, we can do that. And it's needed since the pandemic. If you're out there and you guys don't see each other very often, when you come together, that time should be purposeful. I love big epic scenarios, and all of our events are portable so we can bring them to you. And One of my favorites is a new mini golf design challenge where folks actually they design and create their own mini golf course of several holes.
So fun.
And it is epic. It is unlike any team building event I've ever experienced or seen other folks do.
That's such a great idea.
And do you get to play the course? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of fun. It's very engaging. It's great for seeing when we actually do developmental work out of that or have some goals. It is very easy to process through and bring real world application out of that.
I love that as a almost inception of work, because you're the like activity designer and the activity you designed is an activity design. And so they're like creating a course and you're like, I created the course that makes you create a course. That's just so cool. And I can only imagine the smiles, the energy that can happen. That's such a needed space.
Yeah. The first time we did the pilot, one of the participants was like giggling and she said, this is the most fun at work I've ever had.
Oh my gosh.
And I know her and she has a great job and they do a lot of fun things there. That was just made me feel wonderful.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like that moment of like, oh, wow. The thing I'm doing is like truly making people's not day or week, but year or years, you know, that's so cool, man. Well, I hope if anyone's out there that's listening to this and I am not paid by Mark, I'm just a free guest, but if you guys
You're the host.
That's right. I'm the host. I guess I'm normally a free guest. I'm now a free host. I have to add that to my resume. I don't know, but I'm a lot of free things. I think if you guys are out there and listening to this, like WorkPlay Solutions is such an awesome investment for your team and for the group of workers that you have around you.
The Unforgettable Events are just one solution. So if you go to the website, you'll also see formal workshops, which are more corporate training or adult learning. That's still fun because I've seen a lot of just bad PowerPoints. And as a foster parent, I had to do a lot of mandatory training. And I want folks' time not to be wasted. I want training to be effective.
I've seen firsthand do that, to bring joy to work, make work joyful. This is one of my favorite ones. I saw this on the agenda and I was getting excited. Give us the secret, man. We really want to know, what is the origin story of WorkPlay Solutions? Why does it exist? How did it come to be? Give us all that.
It all centers around this idea that life is too short for work to suck. So,
amen.
And really, to be, completely candid, that I went through a season where, to use the Adam Grant term, I was languishing. And so I think when I read his article on languishing, Adam Grant, he's an organizational psychologist. He defines languishing as it's not depressed, but it's just this lethargy that where the life has kind of been sucked out of you for a long period of time. And I experienced that even before the pandemic started. So I had a season where what I was doing wasn't fulfilling in the way that I thought it would be.
Or how it had been.
Or how it had been.
Yeah.
And met with a coach and walked through all that. Jim Carwish is my coach. And basically, it came to a point where in order for me to sleep at night, in order for me to be a good husband and a good father, I had to do something else. And I just wasn't being fulfilled, wasn't excited about the future, wasn't enjoying what I did on a daily basis. And when I got on LinkedIn, I started looking at jobs like, okay, I could become a project manager, or I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. And some of the thing that I love about my career over the past few years was I've had my hand in so many different pieces, and no one day was like another day. I couldn't find a job that had the variety that matched my skill set.
Yeah.
And so I decided to create my own.
There's the answer right there. When you can't find it, make it.
and that's how I thought about it at the beginning. But as I started pondering that, I realized I don't want anyone else to have that experience. I don't want folks having the life sucked out of them by a job they just don't love. So if there's anything I can do to help teams and help leaders and help managers and help organizations bring life and purpose and joy and fulfillment back into the workplace, I'm going to go all in on that. That's really the realization I came to was once I was able to lift my head out of the languishing and say, I don't want this for me, and I don't want this for anyone else.
That's so cool too, because what you experienced in that kind of languishing period, it pushed you or brought you to a place where you're like, now I can give back, knowing where I've been, knowing that others may end up there in the little ways I get to engage with certain teams. You can't be everybody's boss. You can't be everybody's manager, even everybody's coworker. But as WorkPlay Solutions, you get to go in and you can say, well, in a way that I'm here to help. You know, I'm here to help. If you have the languishing feeling, let's bring some spark back to this world, and hopefully through activities or trainings or consultation, bring that to him. That's really cool.
The workplay idea is because I see both sides of this as having value. So laughing, enjoyment, fun, purposeful play are important for life. And I also get really excited about good project management and good management behaviors and things like that on paper are like, that is not playful.
yeah, that's not fun.
So like this is a workshop on how to delegate effectively. That doesn't sound playful, but when we teach it, we make that very engaging.
Yeah. And I think effective and fun don't always like mix in your brain. Like if you hear that, you're like, oh, efficiency must not be fun, you know, or something. And that's so cool that you're able to be like, wait, but I see them together. Even the fact that workplay there's no space between it. Like even in your name, I've loved it. Like those words are together. There's such a coolness there. And so, yeah, man, that's awesome. This whole origin of WorkPlay Solutions coming to be, we're talking about a birthday, which usually has to do with a certain day. So what specifically is significant about this whole July 9th aspect of your birthday?
Prior to starting the business, I learned that, one, I don't know anything about business.
Amen. Me neither. Yeah, it's a lot.
And had to meet with a lot of very smart people in very specific areas. When you start the business is always a confusing thing to navigate.
For sure.
So for me, we decided to honor the day that I formed the LLC. So according to the state of Georgia, WorkPlay Solutions LLC was formed on July 9th, 2021. And so therefore, that is the legal birthday.
There you go. Just a little bit after the nation's independence, man. Let's go. That's awesome. Well, and as you like to honor people by name on this podcast, what were some of those people that helped like that early stage for you heading up to July 9th?
There's so many. Several have been guests. So Dr. Darville was super, super important. As I was considering making this change and starting the business, and even when I didn't even know I wanted to start a business yet, his counsel was fantastic. So thank you, Dub. David Lillie, who has been a guest, helped me think through some of the business side and recommended a really good book on understanding the structures of a business and how to have a good startup and write a business plan and those kind of things.
That's
and so
awesome.
He was very helpful. Teddy Sanders, who was an early guest, so he was incredibly helpful. Lisa Oates gave me a lot of great advice on marketing and things like that. Who else? There's so many. Like I had so many appointments and folks were so generous.
Wow.
I was so thankful to say, hey, can I buy you lunch? Or a lot of them knew that, I didn't have a job anymore, so they bought me lunch.
What a generous crew. Yeah.
But here's things to think about. And I have loved it because it's just been a learning experience. I'm so thankful for all of
that's
those.
a lot of names, and I'm sure there's even some that have gone unnamed and that are still significant about that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask me that question again on the second half, and if I thought of additional ones, because I know there's folks I'm leaving out that have been super helpful.
I feel that so much in my world too. I'm like, if you asked me to give a list of counselors,
Dr. Jim Cain and Jeff Goldberg, I met with both of those. They're both titans in the experiential learning industry and both run their own businesses. And we played around a disc golf and talked about what it's like to be in business, to work for yourself. And
I think that disc golf is the golf for people who don't make that much money as entrepreneurs yet. It's like, I don't have to pay a substantial green fee to get some info.
You're not wrong.
Because I was like, that sounds pretty great, actually.
You're not wrong.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, I love hearing the significance. Obviously, you do have to pick a day that's quote unquote the birthday, July 9th. Here we go. LLC becomes real. So what are some of the milestones that you got really excited about that maybe most people, especially if they're listening to this, that are not small business owners or solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, if they are not those kinds of people, what would they not be able to appreciate because of not being in this world?
Oh, I laugh every time I think about this because so many things that I've been excited about, like my wife looks at me and like, why does that matter? Why does that matter? So I'm going to go with one of my first ones, which was the day that I had a font.
Yes. Oh man, I feel that with you though. I love that.
But I had this moment when I was starting that I went to send an estimate to a potential client, and I just had this moment like, well, I don't have a logo. Well, I don't have a color scheme. I don't have a font. I don't have letterhead. Well, I don't have a font. I don't even know my font. And it was paralyzing because I didn't know where to start. I didn't go to business school. And so I'm sure there's right answers to all of these things. I took the experiential learning route, which was, how do you start a business? You start a business.
Yeah, that's right. You're like, I'm learning how to start a business by doing it.
Doing it and hoping I didn't make a terrible mistake. But I worked with Jordan Epperson, who designed my logo and color scheme and picked all the fonts and things. But it was something I did pretty early, and he helped me with my branding and messaging. And he's fantastic. And
I love that.
And just the moment I had a font, I'm just like, okay, I feel like I can send something, and it's me. It's the voice of the brand, and that stuff matters much more than we think it does. Yeah. And my wife's like, well, doesn't everyone just use Times New Roman? And I was like, get out of here! Yeah. How dare you?
If you say papyrus, I'm leaving the house for a second.
Yeah. So the font, the day I had a font was a big deal.
That's a great milestone, but you're right. That would not hit anyone's brain that hasn't had to kind of craft their brand, Yeah.
The moment that you realize you don't have PTO. So we're about to go on vacation. I was like, oh, no one's paying me if I don't work. And which is something as an entrepreneur, but it's you feel it every time there's a paid holiday or you go on vacation. You're like, is this wise for the business? You feel it in a way that you just knew it in your head before you start the business.
That's really cool too, because you're saying two different milestones. One of like celebration and like, I feel like I have an identity, and one of like, oh, because my identity is an entrepreneur, I don't have these things that have been like part of my world for 20 years or whatever, like PTO, so that's kind of cool to think about two different sides of milestone there. Yeah, that's good. Any other ones?
Yeah. I have an Instagram post coming out, which has some more, but signing my first non-disclosure agreement.
Well, there you go.
Or did I?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, the first time people pay you, you're like, this is no longer this ethereal thing. Like, I have skills. People should pay me money.
Yeah, right.
It's a real business. People are paying you. And a recent one is the first time I've paid myself. So one of the things I've found just absolutely fascinating is how hard I'm willing to work for free because I believe in what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And when I say for free, it means like I'm trying to grow the business at a pace where I promised my wife we're not going into debt, I'm not borrowing money, so the business will grow at whatever pace I need to get revenue to sustain it. And that means that has meant for the first 8 months or so, I was working for free and working a 40-hour job a week for free. It puts a different perspective on the value of work and saying, if this is what I'm willing to do because I believe in it, it just makes all the difference in that wage conversation.
That's such an interesting moment too, because you're talking about what are you willing to do for free, and we always talk about like volunteer work, right? and you're volunteering for your own business for 8 months, but you're volunteering full time, not extra time. So like, it is really cool to see. You have to believe in something at that level. I'm going to volunteer all of my working hours to this company that may make money. Maybe. Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. So that's actually really cool just to think about. I think in some sense, so the listeners can like put themselves in your shoes for a second, like that entrepreneur space, and maybe ask yourself the question, what would I be willing to work for free for a long time, and not necessarily gain monetary reward.
Yeah. And I say that with the caveat that I know not everyone is in that financial situation. Totally. I'm very blessed that my wife has a great job and she is very supportive of the business. She saw how much just not being fulfilled in what I was doing was killing me and affecting our home. And so she's been fully supportive of that. And I don't want to be arm candy forever. The business is real. This is not a hobby.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And when you put those 40 hours of sweat into it, it doesn't feel like a hobby anymore. Yeah. No, that's real. Any other milestones that you feel like an entrepreneur, small business owner, person wouldn't get,
I have to mention this one because at the early phase of the business, I realized, and I think this happens with every entrepreneur, there's a point in which you start making dad jokes about how terrible your boss is because it's you.
Yes.
It's like, oh, the boss won't let me off work today. Oh, he's the worst,
And you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now.
But it's irresistible. You can't not.
Totally. I'm working Memorial Day. Somehow my boss pulled that one over.
Yeah. Sorry. Like, don't you work for yourself? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, there's something in you being, it just changes how you make your decisions. I have a team of people that are in my network that have been supportive. I have an accountant, I have an attorney, I have all those things. Right. And most of this, 98% of the stuff I do, if I don't do it, then no one does.
And no one knows that you didn't do it.
Yeah. So there's no accountability.
Yep.
And there's also, if I don't do it, I can't delegate that to anyone. So taking time off is hard. And one of the things, I promised my wife, and I think I've held so far, is that I don't want to push so hard like most startup founders do, where they get burnt out from their startup. And it's like, well, the point was to be fulfilled, not to make a bunch of money and be burnt out again.
Exactly.
So I'm going I'm going methodical.
Well, and it's cool to hear this. I was just listening to a podcast. It didn't matter what it was about. Make sure you work on your process, not your product. Mm-hmm. And that's so hard, right? But like, that's what you're saying. It's like, I want to work on the process of being fulfilled through work. My work right now is to set this business up well and to do what I love for myself. Like, I'm not, no one's bossing me around to tell me to do that. But like, if you were designing everything and thinking about the product at all times, you might do 60-hour weeks. You might skip family vacations. And that's an unhealthy space where after a little while, you maybe do that for some time, but you do that for a long time. I don't like this anymore. Yeah. I kind of hate my business. That's real. Well, in light of that, I mean, you've mentioned a few of these challenges. We could move on to another question. That's going to be the cliffhanger for us. Is as we move into part 2, join us again to hear more about how WorkPlay Solutions has come to be and the challenges along the way. So thanks a ton for tuning in, and we will see you on part 2.
Sounds good. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave a review. Tell a friend. Give us a gold star, or call my grandma. And if you want unforgettable events and training that's fun, like for real fun, get started today at workplaysolutions.com. I know I want that. Boo-boo-boo! Jonathan is going to share, or Jonathan's going to ask me cut.